Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Laura with Tidely. Quick question. Have you ever poured money and volunteers into a big outreach event and wondered afterward if it actually connected anyone to Christ or if you just threw a really nice party? Well, today we've got an answer. It's called Kingdom Quest Treasure Hunters, and it flips the usual model. Instead of hosting an event and hoping people show up, your church goes out into the community. Through the adventure, you encounter families who might never be looking for a church or step inside one of their own. You meet them right where they are, and the gospel goes with you. Your host today, we have Jeremy Malek, founder of Church Coach Ministries, a former executive pastor who has spent over a decade helping churches grow in health and impact. And Josh Timonen, director of Kingdom Quest Treasure Hunters, a filmmaker who once worked alongside atheist Richard Dawkins until an encounter with Jesus changed his story. Now he uses those creative gifts to help churches reach their communities. Let's roll a quick video, and then Jeremy and Josh will take it from there.
I knew someone would eventually find my room, and in it, my chest.
The room everyone said didn't exist? It's here. The chest is here. But we have some problems. It's locked, airtight, and I found this note. We're going to have to do this the old man's way. And I need your help.
This is a treasure that wants to be found. But I didn't want just anyone to be able to open it. I wish you good fortune, treasure hunter.
Come in. Do you hear me? Please, we need your help. Are you receiving? Do you copy?
All right, and action.
Hey everybody, we're here at Capernaum Studios filming Kingdom Quest Treasure Hunters.
An all-new adventure game for your church.
This is a story about a treasure hunter and his dog, Hank, who discover a treasure chest, but it's locked with a 4-number combination. They are calling out for help to your community to solve the riddles and open the chest.
Please, we need your help. Are you receiving?
The church has shown video messages from the treasure hunter asking for help to solve Bible riddles. Then, they're directed to partnering local businesses that display code words and provide clue cards. Players are then directed to your church's YouTube library of past live streams to solve the riddle.
The amazing thing about this is as people from your community frequent these participating businesses, they have the opportunity to jump in and play as well.
There's a bit of mystery to it, there's a bit of intrigue. We want people who have never visited a church to just scan the cards, watch the videos on their phone, and dive in. They get to see your church on the live stream. This game dusts off those old live streams and utilizes them for outreach. At the end of the month, the church has a finale event. All players can come and have a chance to win the grand prize.
And you'll have an opportunity to share the gospel with these folks from your community. It's an all-new adventure game that showcases your church to the community. People that have never walked through your church doors will be watching your past live streams, getting to know your pastor and the message your church brings to the community.
You'll receive a customized treasure chest game box that includes all the game pieces your church needs to play. We've also included a custom game website just for your church.
It's not just something everybody else has done. It's a way to go out and engage the community with something new, something different, and it's a game too. So you're having fun and you're excited about playing and people want to win, but with the goal of getting people to come to the church to hear the gospel.
This will be very exciting to see what God does.
It's been a real experience for me.
Visit our website and we will custom build a game for you today.
Good luck, treasure hunter.
What are all these?
No one has seen these in ages. Welcome, everybody, to Kingdom Quest Treasure Hunters. My name is Jeremy Malek, and I'm the founder of Church Coach Ministries. And just to give you a quick little background on myself, I wasn't always in the ministry. Before going into the ministry, I had a business background. I actually worked in banking. And in 2007, God put a call in my life to go into ministry, and I became an executive pastor. And in that process, I was able to bring into the church world a lot of things I learned in the business world. And in this process of doing this, I developed an assimilation training for churches, which really helped churches welcome people well, follow up with people well, and then engage people into loving people in a relationship with Jesus Christ in their communities where they serve. And so, really, Kingdom Quest Treasure Hunters is an extension of that, and we are. We work with churches nationwide. Our home base is in Texas, but in this process, we've worked with over 400 churches across the entire country over the past 11 years. And anyway, I wanted to also turn it over and let Josh introduce himself, and we'll get into our presentation.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, my name's Josh Timonen. My past, I used to work for Richard Dawkins as a media and tech person. I made a lot of documentaries with Richard over the years, and sort of through his release of The God Delusion, I got a book dedication from him for The Greatest Show on Earth shortly after, and we worked very closely in the United States arm of all of his stuff. And so I came from a world of promoting atheism and had a very different life for many years. And in 2020, really had a spiritual awakening and came to Christ through that time, and met Jeremy shortly after. And we've started making documentary films for churches. And so we've done that as part of campaigns and other things. And so we came across this idea for Kingdom Quest Treasure Hunters, and it's been a wild ride.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Josh, why don't you describe to us kind of some of the background of just the month-long aspect and some of the examples of the courtship process and that sort of thing.
Yeah. As something that's an outreach tool, whoops, sorry, real quick. Oh, sorry, my audio and video. Oh, hold on, Jeremy, 1 second.
No problem. So we actually make people disappear as well. So
yeah, fantasy. Yeah. So part of the process with this was coming up with an outreach tool, and it's a game. And a lot of people have come across this, and they've seen the characters and sort of the video world that we created, and they've thought that is this VBS or is this just for kids? And no, this is an outreach tool, and it's designed for all ages. And it really is designed for us to go out into our communities and to
have people be exposed to this creative world as an entry point to bringing them to the church and to the gospel. So, outreach, one of the things that we've been thinking a lot about is the process of somebody evaluating a church. A lot of existing outreach programs are more focused on bringing people to their property right away. And I always kind of make the joke that it's kind of like dating. It's like you don't walk up to somebody you're interested in dating and say, "Hey, I'd like to date you. Come over to my house at 7 p.m." No, usually you want to have some type of activity or something that you can go do with them, like mini golf, let's say, is an analogy I like, where a neutral activity that is fun in and of itself that you can go do with another person to evaluate them. So when we're thinking about people evaluating our churches, we want to give them space to do that feels safe to them, to see what it's really all about. And so when we created this game, our hope is that somebody can spend an entire month essentially dating your church. And we've done this through a card game that is discovered in 3 partnering local businesses, that then through the treasure hunter videos, they scan the QR codes on these cards, they have some clues on them, and then they're able to watch the treasure hunter videos, and they lead them to your church's live streams through that website. So somebody is able to view your live streams as part of the puzzle solving process, and they get exposed to your church, they get exposed to the gospel. And there's 3 riddles they do before, if they want to actually win the game, though, they have to come to a finale event at the end of the month. So we want to actually get them through your church doors at the end, but we are providing a big space for them to evaluate it and consider it. A lot of outreach right now, we're hoping that people show up. If we go put out flyers or bulletins, we have an event, a bouncy house barbecue, those types of events are going to connect with a certain demographic. They're people who are already, I would say, church friendly. But there are a lot of people out there that we're leaving off the table of consideration in outreach in that situation, right? There's so many people who aren't currently looking for a church. And every time somebody is considering a church, they may not come through your doors right away. You do need to give them space and time to consider it. And so that's what really excited us about this concept of the treasure hunt game in the community, is because we're providing space. We've actually found something that you can court the church, date the church outside of the church. All these churches have these libraries of live streams too, which was kind of a funny thing we stumbled on, is that people have been uploading these live streams, especially since 2020. And once Sunday is over, a lot of times nobody goes back and views them again. So this is an opportunity to dust off those old live streams and use them for outreach and ministry again.
And I'll jump in here and say that in our experience from working with churches and connecting with their communities, when churches do outreach events, for example, they're renting bouncy houses, they're having picnics in the park, all those types of things. And sure, they're getting 50, 75, sometimes even 100 people on site for those events. But how many of those people actually translate into the church building and become part of the life of the church? And that answer is very low. And so what this does is it exposes the entire community to the church over that month time frame, in which opportunity arises for people to engage with the church throughout that process, and then ultimately come to the live event. One of the struggles for churches is, okay, we have people on our property for let's say a picnic or something like that. How do we follow up with those people afterwards? It's always kind of a tough thing. And through our process of assimilation, we have developed ways that after an event like this, that it's easy to plug in and follow up with individuals who come from the community. And so I wanted to share that as well. And then
Oh,
There we are. We're back. I don't know what happened, but
oh, yeah, we went away, came back.
I was talking about Paul running the race. If you want to pick up there, or if you want me to.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too. Actually, I was just thinking about, is that outreach. One thing I want to say is that in 2 Timothy 4, Paul says, he's fought the fight, finished the race. Speaking of his ministry with that as a metaphor, I think is something we can take to heart, to say that ministry should be uncomfortable. A race is not comfortable. If you're in a comfortable state running a race, you're probably not working hard enough. But a race is also controlled exertion, right? It's structured exertion. We shouldn't do it without a plan, but we should have a strategy to do something that puts us outside of our comfort zone. And I've always taken that to heart with the finish the race metaphor.
Absolutely. So we believe that we've developed an extremely effective way to expose your church to the community over a month-long duration. And we posted here in the chat, how to order it, go to the website, that sort of thing. One thing I want to mention is everything we do with churches, we've done in a very affordable manner. And so this is not an expensive thing to do for your church. Most outreaches churches do, we did a lot of research on this, and it depends on the church size, but they could spend anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 depending on what they put on and that sort of thing. And a lot of churches, when they do VBS or things like that during the summertime, they're spending $7,500 to do that. And so we are offering Kingdom Quest Treasure Hunters for $2,750, and that's the entire game built with the custom built website, all that kind of stuff that comes with it. So I want you to make you aware that you would have everything you would need to play your custom game, and our team, Josh and I, will custom build that game for your church. And so what I want to do now with the rest of our time, which I think will be very fruitful, is I'd love to open it up for questions. And because I know your minds are probably spinning with a new concept like this, but ask us whatever you want. We'd love to dive in deeper, and I'd like to turn it back over to Laura here.
Yeah. So first question that we have is, can you explain the mechanics of Kingdom Quest Treasure Hunters?
Sure,
Yeah.
Josh, I'll give that to you.
Well, this has been a really fun thing to put together because it really is kind of tapping into some really new pieces. Obviously, there's the live stream component, there's a card game component, and then there is our video series that we created. So we did film, which is essentially like a short film broken up into small pieces. So over the course of the month, when people in the community play the game, they're discovering it at 3 partnering local businesses that your church partners with. And so we're sending people from your church to those businesses, but also people from the community are just discovering it on their own. And anyone can take the cards, they scan it, they are able to watch the treasure hunter videos, which are released each week through the month. And once they watch the videos, they're led to your church's past live stream. So we link all that through the custom website so they can go discover it. So we built a web back end, essentially, that a quick bit of inside baseball is like a GPS located thing. So whenever anybody scans cards on their phone, we use GPS to target your church, where they are, and they get all the custom stuff just for your game. So each game is unique. We do all the back end before it starts. So when you order it, we basically go through a process of, we find the live streams that match up with some of the riddles and things. There's some Bible riddles in the videos. And then we find code words in your live streams that they have to find in order to solve the riddle. So for example, we may find a unique word like siloed or champion, and that would be a word that only happens once in a certain live stream, and they have to find the timestamp of when that word is said. So in that process, they get exposed to the gospel, they get to see your church, they get to see what it's like inside your building, just things that people do when they're church shopping in general. We're hoping to do that for people who weren't considering your church. And then they can keep playing the game out in the community through the website. So each week, the website automatically will release a new video. There's a new riddle they have to solve, but the finale at the end of the month, they have to come to in person And so there's these game cards that are kind of like playing cards that have clues on one side, and those are the things you're discovering out in the community. You bring those along with, they get to use a map at the end of the game. Well, there it is. And so they get that at the finale event, and they use those things together. It's kind of like a clue game or escape room solve that they do in person that takes about 20 minutes, we found. And so that is, you have to solve that in order to, the first one to win, that gets the grand prize. And there's a finale video shown that we've created in the Treasure Hunter game that has a gospel message and sort of ties in all the themes, obviously, with treasure. And it also provides space afterwards for your pastor or leader to present the gospel in further detail in person and invite people back to church on the next Sunday. So it is kind of complicated. There's a lot of pieces at play here, but really it's about getting people to interact with your church, to use these live streams that have never been touched, probably past the week they were shown, and dust those off so that we can get people through your church doors. So there really isn't anything that's been done like this, which was what got us so excited about it. That there's nothing that has these type of mechanics that get your church exposure wherever people are already going, what they're already doing at these local businesses like coffee shops, ice cream parlors, places like that. Anything you want to add, Jeremy, on that?
Yeah, one thing I'm going to add is, one thing that we're finding is, what you're going to find is people within your church currently, they're going to play the game. And one thing we've had different age demographics go through this final solve. The final solve on the finale night takes about 20 minutes to solve. What you're going to see is families are going to solve this together. Youth groups, if you have a youth ministry, and youth groups are going to get packs of 3 or 4 kids at a time and work towards solving this together. Sunday school classes, small groups, however your church is structured, those groups may come together to try to solve these things together. And so it creates a lot of church camaraderie in the process as well. So,
I want to tag one more thing on there. I feel like I haven't even said this very clearly, but the church is shown the videos as well through the process, and so there is participation inside the church walls. We recommend showing each of the 3-minute Treasure Hunter videos through the month, either the start or end of your service, or however you want to structure it. We leave that open to the church, but
or the whole church gets to see that then.
Yes. Yeah. So they can put it up on the screens and everybody can enjoy it. And, it's a quick video that they can put on the beginning or end. And so we want the people in the church to play it. And from the business's perspective, when the church is, as part of this program, they are creating these 3 partnerships. And so the businesses love that, because you're sending people from your congregation to these businesses, so there is a cross-pollination benefit where you're getting the benefit of people picking up the cards in these local businesses and discovering your church that way, but they get all the business from you sending people to their business.
Awesome. Here's another good question. What does our church leadership actually have to do to make the game successful?
Sure. I'll jump in on this one first. And really, actually, not much of anything. And so what's great about this is, when you purchase a game, you're going to get an admin portal where we've got different variants on the riddles, so that we can select which week from last year's live streams we pull from for the 3 riddles. So you'll lay out what dates you want to do this within your church on that admin portal, but your really only responsibility is filling that out. Then our team will actually custom build the game for you and ship it directly to your church. And then your only other responsibility is selecting the local businesses that you want to partner with within your community for this game. And I can tell you, after working in the assimilation field with businesses over the last 11 years, local businesses love to be part of things like this. Absolutely love it. It drives more customers to them. It creates unique interactions for them with their current client base. And so they absolutely love it. And they'll be instructed, when that's sitting there in their establishment, that every client that they have that comes to the cash register, they'll say, "Hey, have you played the treasure hunt game yet? Why don't you take a card? You can scan it and play." So they're actually going to invite people into the game as well. I don't know, Josh, if you have anything additional that I missed.
I would just add too, the finale event is the one thing that the church will organize at the end. And, usually that's a Friday or Saturday night, but we've tried to design it so it's very simple. You basically just need maybe a room with some tables, if that. So it really is just a place you want to have it at your church. Probably people can show up, and, we keep things pretty simple. You just have a screen to show the videos, and, we kind of help you work through anything you need with that. We also have like t-shirts and things on the site that people might want for, representatives of the game, people in your church. So we've tried to kind of make it, we try to help you however we can, for having a successful game. You can get little stuffy Hanks as well too, if you want the dogs.
That's true.
An important part. Yeah.
The important part.
Of course. Yeah. You've mentioned that you guys create a customizable game. So one question is, how customizable, if that's a word, is the game for a church's size, style, and community?
It's very customizable. And what I'll say to that is if you're a church of 50 people, you can play this game. If you're a church of 5,000 people, you can play this game. And the other thing is the quality of video work and game cards, and everything's been done top notch. So it will put a good step forward for your church within the community, no matter what church size you are. Church style as well. All church styles can do this game, and I think what you'll find is it's very refreshing, because it really takes a look at how do we connect with people and love them into relationship with Jesus Christ in a natural way. And so, Josh, I'm sure you have a few things to add too. But.
Yeah. We have these on the site. There's like expansion packs for the cards. I think that's kind of the biggest question, is like, how many cards do you need? Because you want enough for your church members to play, plus the community. And we kind of help guide you as to how many you actually want to order, so that everybody has fun and gets to play. The one thing I want to say too about style is that we've made an effort to make the gospel message in this game what I would call mere Christianity. And so, we have really latched onto the core concepts of the gospel and are speaking very clearly but simply. And so this isn't like, I don't think anybody should feel left out if you are a Christian church. This is very clearly about salvation and the treasure of what Jesus has done for us. So it's very clear about why what we're trying to convey is the relationship with Jesus is the treasure. And, there's sort of a treasure hunt aspect to this. And we do have a prize that gets given away at the end of the finale that we work with the churches to figure out. But then this is all about actually people understanding the gospel. And so, that's something that I don't know about. It's hard to say this, but as somebody who was the writer of the scripts and things, this was something that we really took a lot of time with, and I'm very proud of. And I think that I hope it's something that can have a nice shelf life and can be very useful for a kickstart for somebody to then share the gospel after this in these finale events.
So you've also mentioned, that the overall goal is to spread the gospel. How do you help churches turn game participants into ongoing relationships after the event is over?
So I can answer this one. One of the things that we do in this process is, and again, this goes back to the church coach ministries side with the assimilation training, but we've developed various ways that when people come on site for church for an event like this, that sort of thing, is plugging them into the life of the church. One advantage treasure hunters has is when they come that night, they will already be exposed to 3 different sermons the pastor has preached. That's actually a really big deal, because they will have a comfortability level with the service, the sermons, the sermon style, all those sorts of things. And so one of the things that we coach on is how then do we connect with them that night so that they want to come back And I'll just leave a little thing hanging out there. But one of the things that we do is we talk about giving them a special type of gift that involves what we call a guest leave behind card. And so that's something that we would coach through in the process. So.
Yeah, one thing I'll add to that too is, like we were talking before about dating as an analogy with any type of outreach, it is a delicate balance between suffocating somebody and making sure you get a strong connection with them, right? And it's something we've thought about a lot. And that's why this process of the month-long outreach exists, is because we want people to feel comfortable growing in their relationship with your church and the gospel. And by the end, we do have the ability to, follow up with people, to help people with that from a technical level. But really what we want to have happen is that people are led naturally to desire that connection by the finale, and I think that's the strongest way that we can begin a relationship, to actually bring people into your church, to make them part of your congregation. But also the other thing that we think a lot about is that, I've heard it said, people may need to hear the gospel, 20 times before it really hits them, and, I'm okay with when I tell somebody about Jesus, that if it's time number 3 or time 7 or 12, we do have to accept that sometimes. So, we do want to be persistent, but we also want to be graceful in how we communicate what we're trying to lead people towards.
So am I understanding correctly then that when a church purchases this, they're not just getting the game, but they're also getting coaching from Church Coach Ministries? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we've developed a handout guide thing that goes with the game that will talk about best practices and how to, pull this off, how to conclude the finale event. And it really does walk them through all of these aspects. So, and then some churches then will want to go on and do the assimilation training as well, which is more of a fuller scope training. It's a 4-month long training. So there are options for people if they choose to pursue further options.
That's awesome. Here's a good question. How do you choose, or maybe how do you advise a church to choose the 3 local businesses, and what makes a good partner?
Wonderful. So in my experience, my experience is local mom and pop shops are best, not corporately owned places where they're going to have to check with some supervisor that's out of the state where you guys even live. So locally owned businesses are best. Plus, we want to support our local community. And so we often suggest coffee shops, bakeries are excellent places to do this. Any types of specialty places, everything from florists to your local, if you have a local community hardware store. So there's a good variety of ways that you could do this. And the exciting thing is when you share this with them and they realize, hey, you mean people from the church are going to come into my business and see what this code word is and collect one of these game pieces. Plus people from the community that will come are going to jump in this. It's actually very exciting for the business as well, because it gives people a reason to come into their establishment, new people that aren't part of their current client base. So they usually get pretty excited about it.
Well, and one other thing I'll tag on is, I think we definitely want people to step outside their comfort zone with picking the businesses as well. There's an opportunity to pick 3 businesses for this game. So maybe one is the business that you always partner with in the church. Sometimes there's a business owner or somebody that they do a lot of interaction with, but this is an opportunity for you to build new relationships in the community. So go outside that comfort zone and approach somebody that you may not have talked to before, so you can kind of build this game however you like, but it is a great opportunity to meet somebody new.
Absolutely.
And coffee is great and ice cream is great. I'll say that too.
Listen, I think that would be the top of my list for sure. Mine would all be food establishments.
Yeah. Well, those are great because especially counter ordering places are great because everybody's got to go through a specific spot in the time in that restaurant, right? So any type of coffee shop, you order at the counter. Ice cream shop, usually pay at the counter. Or anything like a florist, you pay at a counter as well.
Yeah,
So
that
those are
makes
great.
sense. Yeah, definitely.
Sit down
Okay.
restaurants are okay too, but maybe you would place the game cards and the placard at like the hostess table or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, it's great advice. All right, we have one final question. Do you have any suggestions for how a church can track success beyond attendance at the finale event, like follow-up conversations, return events, or salvations?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just start the answer and I'll turn it over to Josh on the technical side of what they can do behind the scenes. But one of the things that's very easy to track is before the game launches, you'll know ahead of time because we'll have built the game which weeks of your past live streams people will be watching. So you can easily go and record how many times that has been watched before the game starts. And then each week you can check back with the video that they had to watch that week and see how many people actually engaged and played the game as a whole. And then you'll also, because people can jump into the game at any point in time. So for example, there's 3 different businesses, one each week, right? Well, if somebody goes to business 1 on week 3, they can pick up the card and they can quickly go online and catch up so that they can still join the finale event. So you will have people from that week 1 clue riddle watching that all the way through the whole month. So if you actually ended up measuring it from the beginning of the month to the end of the month, you'd get a really good idea of how many people actually played the game. And Josh has a lot of analytics stuff he can do behind the scenes. So Josh, I'll turn it over to you on that. Rest of
it. I think there's kind of 2 sides to this. There's the technical side of, we do have the capabilities of the analytics that can be shared, and that, but that's more for like people scanning cards and or potentially RSVPing. Those type of events can be tracked and can be followed up with email lists and things like that. So there is a technical kind of your standard sign up and get information, but there's the in-person, the finale event specifically is the opportunity for there to be more of an in-person connection and contact and a way to follow up. That's a little more traditional, where like we were saying, I think it's good. It's a good opportunity, just like a new visitor on a Sunday, to have a gift bag or something like that that's ready to go. Maybe just get their name and email in that moment. And to me, that there is always that tricky part of with the marketing of a church where we don't want to feel overbearing, but we do want to give them the opportunity to provide them contact information for follow-up, and to allow us to maybe check in with them later if they don't show up at church next Sunday. So that's definitely something we've been talking a lot about. And as we said, this is a very new game, so we have a lot of stuff that's sort of in progress right now that we're building on and learning from. And this is a big piece right here that I think, stay tuned.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that's all the questions. Is there anything else that you would like to leave our audience with today about your game that you have?
Well, I guess in closing, I'd like to say this is all the churches out there that are watching this live and will watch it later. I just want to actually encourage you in this is, one thing I've learned is in this day and age, it's a lot more difficult to connect with people relationally than it's ever been before. And I don't know if that's the effect of COVID and what that had upon our nation and world and how it maybe changed how people relate to one another. I think a lot of us have experiences where we could even say sometimes the way we relate to some of our extended family is different than it was before COVID, and how people have changed, especially if they were maybe in an older demographic or a younger demographic, and each one of them it affected differently. And I can say this creative way of putting this approach together really has an opportunity to connect with people in a whole new, fresh way. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who love to play these escape room games. They love to play these treasure hunt mystery type things, the old game of Clue kind of concept. Yeah. and it brings all of these things together. And I think I want to encourage you, when you're thinking about your next outreach opportunity, try something like this. I think this could be a great tool for you. And I'll close with this: is our plan is to build a new adventure game each year. So if you really like it, you'll be able to play a new game annually through this process. So that's my closing thoughts. I don't know if you have any, Josh.
Yeah, I had a couple of things I forgot to mention I wanted to say too. Like, from my perspective, from my past of being in sort of the atheist world, I do know that there is a whole range of people who would consider themselves atheist or agnostic in your communities that will still open a Bible for a treasure hunt. And yeah, there's the really virulent, angry atheists that may not, but guess what? You can still get them to at least engage with a game like this. And they may start off thinking, oh, I'm just doing this, the Bible's a historical document, but I don't believe it or whatever. That's okay. Get your foot in the door, and I feel passionate about that group. And that's what drives me, this group that I feel like we kind of ignore in most of our outreach because it seems too far gone. They're not willing to come to the events. So let's not forget those people. There's a lot of them out there, or wishy-washy, agnostic, atheist, whatever you want to call them. The other thing I wanted to say is that this is very much, we pride ourselves on this production, especially with the video and the cards and everything. We put a ton of work into this. We are absolutely an indie operation. We are a small team. We broke our backs to build this game and shoot the videos. You probably saw us in Behind the Dial. That was us at Capernaum. And, we've really squeezed every ounce of production that we could possibly imagine to make this something really great. And it's something another thing that's really on my heart lately is that I feel like Hollywood is dead. I feel that everything has gone so far off the rails and so far from a standard baseline Christian morality that people are just done. People are so sick of it. And, this is a project that's very close to my heart because I feel like there is a hunger for creative content in a Christian worldview. That's quality. And there's so many great things coming out. The Great Awakening, A Great Awakening just came out in theaters. That was awesome. A lot of other things. This is something that, as creatives, we got to take the reins here. There's a hunger for it. And I feel like, I know this is only a short production, the full video creation is only about 20 minutes. But it's a really awesome short film, actually, when it's all put together. And I'm really proud of it. And I think people really enjoy it just on that front, in your church. So there's something for everybody with it.
Yeah, well, just based on the trailer alone, I'm excited about it. So you guys have a great product. You should be proud of it. And listen, I've enjoyed having you guys on here today, learning more about it myself. I just want to let our audience know that this is not the last you will see of Jeremy. We have him coming up August 13th. We have Jeremy coming back. He's going to be talking about why 70% of your congregation isn't fully engaged and what to do. And then on August 20th, we have the second part of that series, how to fund your church's vision through prayer discipleship and capital campaign strategies. So I'm going to drop right now a link to our Tidely University. You can get on there. You can see our upcoming webinars that we have. Hopefully you'll register and join us again. And gentlemen, it's been so nice getting to talk with you. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for sharing your heart. And I hope that our audience will check it out.
Yeah,
thank you so much, and thanks for having us. And we really appreciate it. And we've been partnering with Tidely now for 5 years, and we just love our relationship with them. So
awesome. All right, thanks, guys. Have a blessed day.
All right, God bless.
Bye.